Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Understanding the Hyper-Casual Game Industry and New Publishing Approach. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce us and our speaker. My name is Marta. I'm from Qubit Labs. We provide development teams for your projects. Please meet Roee Raz, founder and CEO at OVIVO Games, a publishing house for hyper-casual games that brings a very unique approach to the HC market. Also, I'd like to go over a few points so you know how to participate in today's event. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation in comments. At the end of the webinar, Roee will answer and choose the most interesting one, to whom we will give a ticket to the 3 days virtual event for private equity and venture capital industry professionals in Europe. So it's a great opportunity. Okay, so Roee, please tell us more about yourself, and we will gladly listen to the presentation.
Hey everyone, thank you Marta for the quick introduction. Very happy to be here with you to speak in front of you. As you said, I'm the founder and CEO of OVIVO Games, which is a publishing house in the hyper-casual gaming genre. I'm 36 years old, and I have 2 young kids, 3 years old and 6 years old. And like everyone else, keep trying to get used to the new reality with COVID-19. So I'll start with a quick background about OVIVO Games, which, as mentioned, we are a publishing house for hyper-casual games. We actually bring a very unique publishing approach to the hyper-casual industry that enable us simply increase the chances of games to actually being published. And I will show you in details what is this unique approach that I'm talking about. And I will also, of course, cover a lot of interesting topics about the hyper-casual genre. Obviously, as a publishing house, our business model is based on 3 domains we master in. So first is the monetization. Our revenue is heavily based on ads. So one of the challenges as a publisher is to find the right balance between ARPU and CPI, ARPU and retention. And of course, to manage and it's challenging to find this balance because, there are actually 2 main type of ads. One is interstitial, the second is full screen interstitial ads. The second one is rewarded video full screen. And both of them behave very different. Like one is user initiated ad, which is the rewarded video. The second one is system initiated ad. And the challenge is to find the right balance in order to get the bottom line, the highest average revenue per user, which is the outcome of finding the right balance between the usage rate and engagement rate on the different ad placements. And this process involves a lot of analytics and data analysis. Of course, on the monetization side, there is also the aspect of managing the networks and to maximize the potential from this from the supply. Think about it, a lot of networks are fighting for every impression. So we want to make sure that we'll get the highest payment for every impression. So this is about the monetization part. User acquisition, of course, it's our bread and butter. The challenge is to acquire the lowest cost users that will generate the highest value. And of course, it's a big challenge that we deal daily, hourly, and every minute. On the product side, we have also a lot of challenges that related to how to manage the product, how to analyze the product performance in order to make sure that the level funnel will be polished, the engagement rate of different ad placement will be polished and optimized, and of course, perform with improve the retention in the game. Of course, as a publishing house, we are looking for high potential game studios to partner with and grow together. OVIVO Games actually is powered by M51. M51 is a private equity partner. They have like around 9 different companies under their portfolio that they invested in. We are lucky to be one of them. At this very moment, we are working on the next fundraising together. So it's very exciting moment for us. And yeah, this is our like our, I would say, father and mother. Let's start to speak about the hyper casual. So what is actually hyper casual game? So first, how to recognize this type of games? They are actually lightweight with a very simple game mechanics. There is no reason actually to teach the user how to play the game because it's obvious. Like most of the time, the user simply download the game. The process actually starts from watching the ad, like the user watching an ad on Facebook, for example, or Instagram or TikTok or any other social network or video network. You simply watch an ad, and then like if the ad is attractive enough, then he click on the ad, download the game because the game is really like lightweight, so really easy to download, and then simply start to play. No registration, no tutorial. So this is like one of the main things about hyper casual, that you can simply download and play. The same as the way users consume content in social networks like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So hyper casual, this genre actually reflects this content consumption behavior. So the same as users get used to watch stories or very short videos. So it's the same in games. Users prefer to play simple games with quick sessions, to play a lot of different games. So they are actually jumping from game to game. And this is one of the main like the main things that define the hyper casual game genre. As for ad experience, so ad experience and user experience actually, as mentioned before, hyper casual are heavily based on ads. So obviously the ad experience is super important. The now, like watching ads is not like it was in like 3 years ago. More interactive ads on HTML5 are in the games. The ads are way more like engaging, and also the ad units, like the rewarded video ad units, also contribute to the user experience, because when the user decide to watch an ad in the game, it's actually no one really forced him to do it, and he decides to do it. It means that it makes sense to him to spend like 30 seconds watching an ad in order to get the reward in the game. So again, another thing that support the hyper casual is the ad experience and user experience that we see in the genre. Let's speak about ad technology. So now versus like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, the ad technology is like improved dramatically. More ways to target specific users. Of course, it's about to change very soon once Apple will release their latest operation system with the latest changes early next year. But at least for now, what we know is that the targeting is way better than before, which again, it's a win-win situation, because when the ads are targeted better, then of course the developer or the publisher get higher CPMs, and at the same time the user get a better experience because you watch an ad that actually meets to his or her needs and wants. So why hyper casual actually? I mean, there are a lot of other genres out there in the app stores and Google Play. So The answer is about the numbers and the amazing numbers that this genre perform. About 70% of the top 30 free games in the app stores are hyper casual games. Overall, the hyper casual games are downloaded about 25 million times a day. So obviously, when a publisher who knows how to acquire users in an optimal way can make a lot of interesting things under this, like when acting in this genre. $2.5 billion is the annual revenue that this genre generates, and this is amazing. One more amazing thing about this number is that actually only 1% of the games are actually published and mainly contribute to this number. And I will show you, I prepared a dedicated slide about it, so stay tuned. We also see that big players in the mobile industry are going hyper casual. We just heard about the latest acquisition by Zynga. They acquired 80% of Roee Games, which is a very interesting and successful publishing house from Turkey, for $168 million in cash. It's amazing acquisition by Zynga. And we also saw Iron Source that just founded less than a year ago. They're a publishing brand called Super Sony Games and already dominate the market and doing a great job. By the way, another Israeli publishing house. Also Toptail, another Israeli publishing house that launched their hyper casual brand Crazy Labs last year after having their Toptail brand for long time. Of course, Voodoo are one of the most known and big publishing house. And there are also Lion Studios, Quali, Tasty Peel, a lot of big players in the market that are doing a great job. Now, why a game developer need actually a publisher? So that's a good question. Most of the time, the developer knows how to create amazing game, but he don't know nothing, or at least don't know enough in order to bring the game to the market and validate the game. So that's why the developers really need a publisher. They also don't have the funds, of course, to invest in publishing a game. So when you publish a game, you need to invest a lot of money on the user acquisition. So that's why. That's another good reason to find a good publisher to scale with. But the situation is very interesting. Only 1% of the games are actually published, and 99% of the games are actually rejected by the publisher. When a developer try to publish a game with a publisher, the publisher actually conduct few tests, like starting from Marketability Test to analyze the game performance in terms of CTR and CPI. CTR is click-through rate, CPI is the cost per install. So this is like the first and initial test that the publisher conduct. And only if this test ends with satisfying result, then the publisher will move forward to the next test, and which is like on retention most of the time, like testing retention KPI and see if the results are satisfying. And only then, if both CPI and retention looks good, then the game is actually published. Now, only 1% of the games are actually move these test phases, which lead us to explore the market and to understand where is the opportunity. And OVIVO find out that about 10% of the games that are rejected are actually games that can generate profits, and that there are millions of dollars that are actually left on the table. And why is that? So the answer for that is actually that all the big names that I mentioned before, like Voodoo, Lion Studios, Roee Games, Good Job Games, Tasty Peel, all of them are fighting for the same 1% of the amazing games, like the games that can be published and generate like $3, $4, $5 million, which is amazing. They also have the privilege to focus on these numbers because they have like hundreds of games submitted every day, and they can review like hundreds of games every day. That's why they have the privilege to focus only on the top performing games. Now, on the developers, I had never faced an issue where, like, I've never faced a situation where a developer told me, like, Roee, you know what? I'm working on games to make $5 million or $2 million only. Nothing lower, like nothing less than that is good for me. Most of the developers will be very happy from $100,000, $200,000, or even generating, like, $1 million or $500,000, which is something that we found out that most of the publishers simply reject. Or I would say that the games they're smart is not profitable enough for the publishers. So this is a very important point to understand. There is like kind of an integral conflict between the publisher and the developer here, because most of the time the developer will be very happy from, way lower amount of revenues, and that's not enough for the publisher. OVIVO Games are acting in this area, like in answering the pain that that these 10% of developers are experiencing. So this is like the opportunity that we see, and the way we act is actually reflect this, like we act in a way that will answer in the best way to this pain. I would like to show you how we actually publishing, and like the way that like what is to publish with OVIVO. So we start first with marketability test. So we start with the testing the game CPI and CTR. We will mainly test the game on Facebook and Instagram, and this is like the main channels. And of course, we'll make the test on the US users on the US market. We'll measure CTR and CPI, and the KPI is to reach CPI that is lower than 30 cents and CTR that will be higher than 2%. Now, what we'll do is that we'll start a test, we'll start the marketability test, and then, like, based on at least 8 different creatives that, of course, we do on our side, based on the raw video assets that the developer will provide us. And we'll start the test, and then we'll analyze the performance, and we'll make some improvements based on the insights of the analysis phase. Now, say that the average CPI on the initial test was like, let's say 60 cent CPI, which is double than our benchmark, than our KPI. So obviously 60% CPI is an average number that's generated by running 8 different creative tests. But if it's an average number, it means that at least one ad out of these 8 perform with lower CPI. So this is exactly what we do. We'll focus on the top performing ad out of these first 8 ads, and we make another creative session, which is actually what we call improvement session. And we run another test to see if the CPI reduced and the CTR increased. We also look on like CVR and understand, like, if the CTR is good, but bottom line, the CPI not good enough, then it means that the CVR needs to be improved. And there are a lot of ways to improve CVR. It might be by changing the app icon that will improve dramatically the conversion rate from click to install. It might be like adding video to present the gameplay in the store, or any other action to improve the store presence. And by that, increase the chances to actually pass the initial test of the marketability. Once we reach to the go, no-go decision making, the first go, no-go decision making, we actually simply measure, like, look, if we perform with lower CPI than 30 cents, we'll move forward in the process. If not, we'll reject the game, but we'll provide full insights about the test and, like, any other thing that the developer will be able to learn from this process. If we move forward, means that the CPI is low enough, then we start a test called ARPU test. ARPU is average revenue per user. So unlike other publishers that focus on retention, we simply focus on ARPU, because as long as the ARPU will be higher than the CPI, this is our main KPI, like ARPU that is higher than CPI. As long as the ARPU is higher than the CPI, we have a business. We have profits to share with developers. So that's all we look at this point. Of course, we're measuring again marketability, and we also measuring day 1 and day 3 and day 7 retention and ARPU and engagement rate on different ad placements and level funnel and a lot of different KPIs that that we look in order to improve the game performance. But bottom line, when we reach to this go no go decision making point, all we want to make sure is that the ARPU is higher than the CPI. And if ARPU is higher than the CPI, we'll publish the game. Of course, we collect a lot of data, and we are a data-driven company. We ignore gut feeling. We're not falling in love with games. We only look at data, and based on data, improve the game, improve the marketability, improve the monetization, and then we scale. So this is about the publishing strategy or go-to-market strategy. We also know that once the game is like showing low CPI, I'm back here, like once the game show here like low CPI, then no one guarantee that the CPI will remain low for a long time. We have like a short time to act fast and to execute as quick as we can the next phase of the process. That's why we developed, we invested in the very beginning in technology and infrastructure that will help us to scale dramatically when needed. So on top of the game, we developed few layers that enable us to scale. So on the second layer on top of the game is what we call the OVIVO capsule. It's actually an SDK toolkit that we developed in order to track anything that we want in the game. For example, the SDK is like having attribution platform, mediation platform, analytics, Crashlytics, all the networks are connected to this capsule. So everything that is like every third-party service that is a must in order to publish the game and to test the game performance is there. By the way, this is a result of we like struggling on integrating on our games when like back then 2 years ago when we just started. So we started by being a studio. So we developed these games and then we struggled on the integration with all the third parties SDKs that are needed. That's led us to simply create this kit and supply now this kit to every developer that we want to publish. On the third layer, we have what we call the KPI improvement machine. It's actually a bank of generic models that we developed in Unity. By the way, we publish only Unity games at this moment. So our publishing services are relevant only for Unity, for the games developed in Unity. And we actually give every developer access to our bank of generic models. So say that we see that the day 1 retention is like 30% and we want to improve it to 35 or 40%, then we simply give the developer an access to, for example, the data reward feature, and then you can simply integrate it quickly. We also having like more, I would say, meta features that we develop in generic ways. So on top of the core game loop, on the game, the developer can also like add these meta features to the game, and by that improve like the session length and engagement in the game. The automation layer is more relevant to the way we set up on all the monetization, all the ad networks in the game. You can simply just imagine how much manual work involved in adding like more than 10 different ad networks to every game. That's why we have this automation layer to simply make it like quickly as possible and to focus on optimization and making sure that every ad opportunity in the game will get the highest CPM. This is what we actually did with Discourse. Discourse is a game that I would say would never publish with any of the publishers that I mentioned before, simply because the game performance is way lower than the KPIs that other publishers look at. So we started with this game on January and February, the early like this year, with CPI that was like close to dollar, like 95 cents. Based on the process that I showed you before of like testing, analyzing, improving, testing, analyzing, improving this cycle, we managed to reduce the CPI in the US market down to 22 cents, which actually enable us to scale dramatically from a few hundred monthly active users up to more than 300,000 monthly active users in March and then in April, based on ROAS, like based on return on ad spend. So, and by the way, important to mention that the retention performance of this game were like way below the retention KPIs of the big publishers in the market. So it's another proof of concept that you don't need to meet all KPIs that the big publishers set in order to generate money. In order to generate money or to generate profits from the game, all you need to focus on is generate ARPU that is higher than CPI. Again, ARPU is average revenue per user that is higher than the cost per this user per install. This is it actually. Can't wait to get your questions, to collect questions from you. So Marta,
okay, so
take it from here.
Okay. First of all, thank you a lot. We are now going to begin answering the questions submitted during the today's presentation. So our first question is, what is the most quickly growing market for hyper-casual games?
Again, could you please repeat, Marta?
Okay, yeah, sure. What is the most quickly growing market for hyper-casual games?
Okay, I hope I understand the question correctly. Like, what's the quickly goal? What's the quickly goal?
Growing. No. What's the most quickly growing market for hyper-casual games?
What's the all right? So the market, the market we'll look at is the US market, like almost always. But there are a lot of interesting markets that are. First, I have to say that hyper-casual genre is like very broad. Like we're targeting a very broad audience. So like there is like the users who play hyper-casual games are all ages, from very young to very old, from China to US to Latin America, like all over Europe, of course. So there is no like a specific growing market that I would mention. There is like the Chinese market is very interesting, I must say. But I can't mention like any specific market that is growing in this specific genre. Tier 1 markets are like the main ones who, when you see a successful game, it will scale in the tier 1 markets, which is like, you know, US, Australia, Canada, UK, New Zealand.
Okay, thanks. So let's move to the second question. How the industry changed during 2020?
How do I see the genre change in 2020?
Yeah, how the industry of hyper-casual games changed during 2020.
So I think the game is going to be a little bit more rich in content. We'll see more games that have more meta features, or we'll see more games with like more mechanics, not only one game mechanics. We already see it actually nowadays that if a year ago, most of the mechanics were like very simple in terms of like tap and hold, swipe, tap to shoot. And this, like every game was based on one single game mechanics. Now we see that more games having more multiple mechanics in the same game. So I think this trend going to be to keep on next year. Also, the design is more rich. Like 2 years ago, we used to see more like abstract games. We also saw more like 2D games. Now the trend is more like 3D realistic games, and we'll see more and more and more 3D realistic games during 2020. Of course, a lot's going to be changed in the way that in Apple, like Apple going to release new operation system with a new policy in terms of like sharing IDFA. I believe you guys heard about it. They supposed to release it on iOS 14 a month ago or a month and a half ago. They delay this change to early next year. No one really know when exactly it will be, but for sure it will affect the way users will get ads, because less user will share IDFA means that it will be more challenging to target them and to show them like the best ads. And also in terms of user acquisition, it will be like more challenging to deal with without like to manage the user acquisition in the new world when there will not have the users like unique identifier. And what we'll actually have is the campaign level, like we'll have data on the campaign level, not on the user level. So this change for sure will be a significant one on 2021.
Okay, thanks. So next question. And how many people in team you need to start making money on games?
How many people we need? So yeah. I think it's not about people, it's more about functions, because there are people that can make that can cover more functions. So you must have user acquisition manager. I mean, you can't even try to acquire users without knowing what does it means. Don't build or don't trust on organic growth. It's not like it will not happen. So you must know how to acquire users in an efficient way. So that's one function that you must know. I put aside I mean, of course, you need to, if you're a developer, you need to develop a game, and you need to also know like what you're doing and what the trends are. But once the game is ready, you need a user acquisition manager, you need a product manager to analyze game performance and to run A/B test or ABC test, to analyze games KPIs, and to work closely with the developer in order to change the game and make the game and improve the game from release to release. So we talked about user acquisition, we talked about product management, and you must also have the ability to monetize, and to monetize in the best, like in an optimal way. So you need to know how to manage the networks. You need to know how to use the mediation platform in order to manage the different networks in a way that will result with higher CPMs per market. So I would say that these are like the three main features that you need alongside development skills, and of course also like BI skills that are more related to the product.
Okay, great, thanks. So probably the first one, what other trending themes will be popular in the future in casual games?
What the popular trends will be?
Yeah, trending themes, yeah.
Again, I didn't hear last sentence.
What other trending themes will be popular in the future in casual games? What type of casual games will be popular in future?
So as mentioned before, I think that more games with multiple mechanics, more games that will be like with 3D realistic design, and more meta features in the games. This is like what I think will be like the next trends. But as I know the hyper casual market, the trends are like changing every few months. So the trends now might be changed in about 2 or 3 months. What we do in our startup, in our company, is that we monitor the market in a way that we always follow the trends and analyze them, and sort the games into subgenres like puzzle games, top and hold games, shooting games, etc., in order to make sure that that we know we have data to analyze and to know, like, to predict what will be the next trend.
Okay, thank you. So one more question. I know that you already mentioned about the innovations from Apple, but what are you thinking about the last update piece in Apple Store?
So should I explain more about what Apple is going to change? Like, what's the next changes in Apple? They will actually...
Yeah, the question was, what do you think about the last update? It's just your opinion, I think.
What do I think? I think that there is good things and bad things about it. First, you know, let's dedicate 1 minute just to explain what's the change that they made. They actually, nowadays, every user, and it was always on their operation systems, every user can actively disable or not approve sharing his IDFA with advertisers, with anyone. Now the change that they made is that the default choice will be that the user is not accepting sharing, sharing his IDFA, and if you want, you can actively consent to share IDFA. So how it affects apps that user use? In every app that the user will launch once Apple will release their this version. So in every app that the user will launch in this device, he will see a consent message. It will be like one-time opportunity for app developers to show this consent message to users. So developers and app owners should think when exactly they want to show this consent message, consent pop-up. And in this consent pop-up, they will ask the user to actively share their IDFA with the app owner. So it will, like, per app. If the user consent it once, it will be only for the specific app that he gave the consent to. If he will play a different app or launch a different app, it will be asked again to consent his IDFA. So in terms of privacy, like, it's good. I mean, it's good that Apple take care of their users in terms of keeping their privacy in, like, you know, highest level. In terms of the hyper casual business, we will be okay with it. I'm not jealous about other game genres like social casino genres, strategy, or casual games that really need like that their business model or their revenue model is heavily based on in-app purchases. And now it will be way like more challenging for them to target these whales. It's called whales, like the big depositors. So it will be challenging for them to target those whales, and it will be also a challenge for them to run like remarketing campaigns, retargeting campaigns, because they have no like IDFA to target. So it will change a lot the way we used to acquire users. But again, on the hyper casual genre, it will be less dramatic. On other genres, it will be like way more challenging.
Okay, thank you a lot. So the next question is probably from the developer. So currently working in a hyper casual game developed in Unity. When the first beta is done, when do publishers expect from me when contacting them?
Right when you have like even the game concept, because once the developer can reach us with game concept, we can support him with our product manager and our designer, and like even like support him on the design parts and fine tune like the product concept and theme, and to share with him insights that we have about the industry. So once the developer even just think about a game, he can reach out to us and we will support him in the process of building like the first prototype. We'll run this, once we'll have this prototype, we will run the marketability test, and then, you know, we'll follow the process that I just presented before. So, and I think I didn't mention it, but the business model is based on like revenue share. So we share the revenues, the net revenues with the developer 50-50. Like every profits that we generate from the game, we simply share with the developer 50-50. And of course, we invest the money on their acquisition and money and know-how. So did I ask you a question?
Yeah, thanks. Hope you asked the question. So another question is from the same person. Is it okay for publishers to market a game that is already published for a couple of months?
Absolutely, yes. It depends on, first we will interview the developer, we'll speak with the developer and we'll ask for like, what were the results from the last test. We'll understand like if the issue with like if the CPI was not low enough because of due to high CVR or sorry low CVR or low CTR, and then we will see if this game still meets the trends that we analyze in the market. So the answer is of course yes. We also see games that now like on the top charts that actually were launched like 2 years ago and 1 year ago, and by having fine tunings and small changes to the game, we see them now like increasing dramatically. So the answer is yes, of course. Old games are still relevant as long as they are like, you know, on the right trend. But that's the feedback that we will provide to the developer once he will reach out to us.
Okay, great. It was the last question. So, Roee, what question was the most interesting in your opinion?
Actually, to be honest, the latest one, because I think that most of the developers think that the game have like one chance in their lifetime. I mean, like they work on a game, they test it, and then get a reject, and then they simply put it on the side. And I think this is one of the most important things that developers should know. The same like we did with Discourse. Discourse is a game that was like, you know, easily being rejected, and because the CPI was too high, and by finding the best way to promote this game and to optimize the CPI, we managed to scale with this game. So that's why I think that the latest question about like if existing games still have a chance is I would say it's not the best question, but it's an important question, because I think that most of the developers simply that have like 40 different games in the store simply put them in the store and doing nothing with them, while I think that this is money on the table, because at least one or two of them can be the next Discourse and scale up. Discourse is a game that didn't reach to the top charts. I mean, it's a game to generate profits, but it's not a hits game. And this is our focus, like to find the games that can generate profits. We are not working on generating hits, we are working on generating profits from games. So this is our focus, and that's why I really liked the last question that you asked.
Okay, so great. So everything old is new again, yeah? Great. Thanks. The owner of the last question, please contact us via info@Qubit Labs or our social medias. So thank you, Roee. It was very exciting to listen to you. This is really very interesting. Many thanks. On behalf of Qubit Labs, thank you for joining us today. Also, thanks everyone for joining us. We look forward to meeting you at our next webinars, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you a lot. One more time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.